That live report in the aftermath of hurricanes now Helene and Milton. Many are concerned how home insurance rates could be impacted, even for those of us who live thousands of miles away. Western Mass News reporter Reagan Stoddard continues our team coverage live in studio tonight after getting those answers. Reagan?
Chris, insurance companies will be busy with claims stemming from these two recent hurricanes for the foreseeable future. And some experts I spoke with say it's not just the homeowners down south who could be impacted by rising rates.
When natural disasters hit, people's lives are turned upside down along with their homes. With the damage from Hurricane Helene and now Milton, those in impacted areas hope their insurance will be able to fill part of the void they now have to piece together.
But when there is damage, you're going to have an adjuster come out. The adjuster is going to come up with an estimate, and then they're going to pay you based on actual cash value, which is what is it worth today.
West Springfield insurance agent John Sweeney tells Western Mass News insurance companies step in quickly when disasters strike.
That they will pull people from other parts of the country to come down there. Adjusters from up here will be down there. Restoration companies will come down in order to help, with the damage that occurs.
And East Longmeadow insurance agent Rana Morton tells us how all of this could lead to rising home insurance rates for others not directly impacted.
Because the reinsurance companies charge more to the insurance companies who've had to pay out more than maybe they anticipated because of the increase in losses.
But for some homeowners, she explains why having insurance is vital after going through a tragedy.
This is more than just money. I mean, if your house poof disappears or, goes into flames, there's a lot, it's not a good time for us to be trying to make financial decisions.
Morton also reminds homeowners that insurance is important even if they've paid off their mortgage.
Like, oh, my mortgage is paid off. This is great. And then they let their insurance lapse and then something happens and you're on the hook for the entire thing.
It's also good for home